to do?
I think he's worked out pretty well.
Have a seat. This is a must.
But things have become a little rougher out there.
This unit needs millions of dollars in parts. You see, Robocop's off warranty.
He's one of mine. And I want him back on his feet.
I believe that Murphy's case was unusual, but not unique. We can find someone else. Someone to whom the prospect might even be desirable.
And now, we need a law enforcement unit capable of meeting the enemy on his own ground.
She's screaming psychotic, sir.
Well, we aren't planning to build a toy and carry in a firepower. To get the job done.
I got good news for you. You're gonna have a chance for immortality.
With great pleasure, I give you Robocop 2. Ah, yes. Things will be a lot quieter with this boy around.
That thing is a killer!
Kane! Let's step outside.
You're obsolete!
Take it over, creep.
Behave yourselves!
Robocop 2 is the sequel to the sci-fi shoot-'em-up classic that I already reviewed. This sequel was released on June 22nd, 1990. I have reviewed 3 sequels so far, and all of them were awful. They include Alvin and the Chipmunks the Squeakquel, Jaws 2, and Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Will this movie stand out and be a good sequel, or will I have to call in a hazmat team? Well, let's find out by starting with the story. The story follows Robocop continuing to fight criminals and protect the city of Detroit. But this time he will run into trouble when a rogue OCP member secretly tries to create an evil robotic enforcer known as Robocop 2. By attempting to use a criminal called Kane as a subject. There are also 2 criminals, a little boy and an adult woman, involved. They are working with Kane, but things go wrong later. Is this the best way I can describe the story? Yes, because this story is a little bit more complicated than the first movie. Or rather, it's a lot more nuanced than the first one. This is a story I cannot talk about without spoiling major plot points. So as a disclaimer, this review is going to contain spoilers. If you want to see this movie, do not watch this video until you have seen it. This is one of those movies that you cannot explain, you cannot understand until you have seen it. Or at least, I think it is. The 2 criminals start out as hostile pieces of shit with no respect for the law and commit petty crimes. They remain that way to an extent, but later on, but I actually don't feel any sense of catharticism with them when they are killed. This is because the members of OCP are the real villains of this movie. They of course bring in Robocop 2 using Kane. They connect Kane to the robot as Kane is on his deathbed. Kane is now immortal because of this operation. Once Robocop 2 comes into the city, it starts not only killing criminals, but it starts killing other people for no good reason. When the woman discovers that Kane is Robocop 2, there's a slight lighthearted revelation scene, but it turns dark when Kane/Robocop 2 kills her. Subsequently, Robocop comes to the aftermath of the massacre and finds the kid. This scene is so powerful. The kid begs Robocop to stay and says, "You know what it's like to die. It sucks." And those are his last words. Whenever I see this, I actually almost feel sorry for the kid. Even Robocop seems to feel a bit of guilt, judging by his body language. Despite their flaws, the kid and the woman are way more likable than the members of OCP ever could be. Not only do they unleash an evil robotic unit that wreaks more havoc than Detroit ever did, but they also decide to fuck up Robocop's objectives so he can be a better role model for kids. I always hated it when they did that. But the thing is, I have no doubt on my mind that you are supposed to hate it. If you think this is a good idea, let me ask you this. Let's say Robocop was dealing with a criminal, taking a person hostage. Robocop just walked up to the criminal and told him to talk things out. And the criminal did not even listen and shot the hostage dead. Do you think it is worth it? Do you think making Robocop a politically correct figure at the cost of his competence as a police officer is a good idea? 'Cause I sure as hell don't. An innocent person would have been killed, and Robocop would have done nothing to stop it. From the bottom of my heart, fuck you, OCP. So what is my honest-to-God opinion on the story? While I don't like it as much as the first story, I do feel there are quite a bit of admirable qualities to it. It is actually quite engaging and thrilling. I also admire its attempt to change things up a bit in the story. And when it did change things up, it still managed to keep the charm of Robocop that made it likable to begin with. In fact, the movie as a whole duplicates the style of the first one pretty well. Even the emotional bits are done reasonably well, though there are not that many of them. So, I genuinely enjoyed the story. The action scenes are pretty fucking awesome. There are plenty of guns and some explosions, and they were not messy at all. Also, the fight with Robocop and Robocop 2 is well done, and pretty brutal, despite the fact that they're robots. Now, as for the production values, the cinematography is good, the editing is well done, the sound is pretty solid, the music is okay. The visual effects are a bit dated, but to be really honest, I don't really care that much about visual effects. Overall, Robocop is a damn good movie, both as a sequel and as a standalone movie. While not as good as the original, it still has a worthy story and great action scenes and stellar production values. While the first one had a lot more depth, I feel the sequel has a considerable amount of depth as well, and that is hard to ignore. And you know what? I legitimately enjoyed it. Now, I have not seen Robocop 3, so I can only assume that it is fucking terrible. But Robocop 2 is an awesome movie. So, I give Robocop 2 4 out of 5 stars. with the title of Awesome. I'm Spike Robot. Thank y'all for watching, and take it easy.
On the ground, I